Welcome to Enlightenment of Change on webtalkradio.com. I'm your host, Connie Whitman. Thanks for joining us this week. So here's the deal, everyone. I get it. When we hear the word change, sometimes that's enough to create angst or a knot in our stomach, because sometimes that change is thrust upon us. Even when we choose change, it still can be very difficult to navigate. So to help you navigate whatever change you're facing in your life, in the show notes is my gift to you. It's my communication style assessment. You will get 2 reports. First report, just your natural communication superpowers. I think it's an important piece of information to know, so you can kind of lean into that and build on that strength. Flip side, your lowest score, typically a blind spot when you're communicating with people who actually communicate 180 degrees different than you. How is your message landing there? To me, that's the more important report to read. So again, take the quiz. You'll get 2 reports. The lowest report, the lowest score, please read that with a keen eye. And I do hope it helps you navigate whatever change you're facing. Now, to set the stage for my guest on my conversation today, I chose a quote by John Quincy Adams, and he says, "If your action inspires others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you're a leader." So leadership, I think, is so much more than just a title, right? CEO, CFO, EVP, SVP, whatever title you have. Now, I've seen great leaders who have no title at all, but they care deeply. They show up big every time they arrive at work, and they inspire others right doing their job. Inspire your team, growing your skills, and growing your team skills is truly, I believe, the job of any great leader. Yet I see it all the time where corporate leaders, especially in maybe the larger companies, no diss out there, but this is what we're seeing. They've lost sight of the human perspective, and it's also become about the shareholder, not the value that the employee brings to the table. Hey, listen, shareholders are essential. I get it, yet not at the cost of the people who create the profit, right? We're building profitability on the backs of people. We have to acknowledge that. So what are we doing wrong? Well, I have an amazing guest today. His name is Charley Johnson, and Charley, who has 20 plus years in corporate as a business owner, 7 years in nonprofit as the president of Pay It Forward Foundation, and 10 years with an enlightened teacher. The combination of all these things creates a unique set of skills that will be crucial for companies and their employees moving forward. He's working to bring the position of Chief Conscientious Officer, so a CCO, to the forefront of the business world and into all companies. Amen, Charley. Thank you so much for being on the show.
Thank you for having me. Thank you for allowing this discussion to be heard.
Yeah, and man, oh man, you got the heart of what I think business, especially the big businesses out there, we're lacking. And I think we need to get back to some of the basics. So first question is, why would a company hire a chief conscientious officer? Why?
30 years ago, technology took over business. Every intelligent human being within the company, especially the C-suite, knew online was going to be a big deal. They knew they needed to be online. They knew they needed a website. No one knew how to do it. No one knew how to code. So they looked over in the corner and said, there's a unique individual over there that, we don't talk to a lot. So maybe we should hire them. Small, medium, large companies all have CTOs now. It is an absolute staple. It's probably one of the things, because of AI, because of how the world is, the CTO is almost one of the first hires, right? Because it's technology.
Yeah.
Consciousness is the center of humanity, always has been. What we've been missing is the awareness of it. Consciousness is everything physical and non-physical. And very specifically, consciousness is not spiritual. This is not enlightenment. This is not meditation. This has nothing to do with the wellness programs we've crammed down everyone's throat for the last 20 years. Because in regards to what you've said kind of in the intro, we've done the conscious leadership. We've done the conscious management. We've had wellness programs. We've had the plaques on the wall. My question is, how does it look? Right? How does the business look? How does the world look? How does the chaos, the division, the conflict, the gap between executives and employees? What we've been missing is consciousness. All we focused on is the mind. The mind is just the middleman. Everything comes from consciousness. And the greatest way to look at consciousness is just a simple metaphor. Wise fish swimming through the ocean, swims by 2 young fish and says, "Hey boys, how's the water?" And the 2 young fish look at each other and say, "What's water?" As we have this discussion, are swimming in consciousness. Your listeners, whenever they listen to this, are swimming in consciousness. The planet, the animals, the planets, the galaxy, everything, physical, non-physical, your thoughts, their mind, your brain, everything. It's fundamental to our reality. So where we've missed the mark is everyone thinks consciousness is spiritual. It's about enlightenment. It's about to the Himalayas and meditation. It's about yoga, Tai Chi, the wellness programs. No, consciousness is in religion. Consciousness isn't with an atheism. Consciousness is with Republican, with a Democrat. Consciousness is everywhere. And once we become aware of that, we understand we have this vast resource that we can tap into at any level, at any time, and gain any knowledge we want for whatever we're doing in our world. It helps in business and outside of it.
I love this because it's so funny. I just taught a class this week for new bankers. My clients are bankers, credit unions across the country. And so they were young, they were just graduating college and what have you. And I said, I want you to think as we go through our discussion over the next 2 days, I want you to think of an iceberg, right? That tippy top, maybe 5-10% is above the water. That's our conscious mind, right? We're speaking English. You could see me. I could see you. I'm showing slides, whatever it is. 90% of our engagement with our clients, I teach sales, right, is subconscious. Do you know what's happening in your subconscious realm? Most people don't. So we have to shine a light on that to understand that. And now we can bring that forward and serve bigger, better, faster, right? Whatever it is that we're trying to do with our client or whatever role you have in your business. That's what we're talking about.
Correct. And just a subtle shift here. So conscious, you and I are conscious. See, hear, smell, touch, taste. That's conscious. If we get hit in the head, we're unconscious, right?
Yeah.
That's a verb. That's what's going on in the world. Consciousness is a noun.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's who we are. We came from a single cell inside a woman's body. It's who we are. Every piece of knowledge that you have watched, that you taught them, that they learned from a professor, that they read in a book, that they watched on a podcast, whatever it is, it all came from the same source. Knowledge is structured in consciousness, not in your mind, not in a book, not in some outside authority.
Yeah.
Everything you want when you teach them, when Connie teaches them, when a banker, a credit union, whatever it is, every piece of knowledge they've ever wanted access to is within them already. You're awakening it. You're bringing their attention to it. You're bringing their awareness to it. That's what this position does. Now, this position also helps the CEO with strategy. It helps HR with hiring. It helps marketing go from here, expand their awareness into new ideas. You teach sales. A lot of times they plateau. They hit a ceiling. We don't know what to do. We've tried it all. We've done this. We've done that. We've tried. They're here. We start expanding awareness. They have access to more. They have access to new solutions. They have access to new questions, to new answers, to new sales techniques, to new whatever. And when you expand someone's awareness, Connie comes in. And if they're typical, they've got a box that's already full of 80,000 thoughts. When Connie puts her information in the iceberg or whatever techniques you use, the chances of that being absorbed are very minimal because the mind's already overwhelmed. When you expand awareness, you're expanding the size the box the mind's in. There's space. They can absorb it. They can implement it. They can utilize it. They can put it to work. So this position does that for every single employee in the company. What we've done in the past with conscious management and conscious leadership, which is right, the people teaching it, the people going after it, their heart's in the right place. They're very intelligent. What we've missed is we've only worked with the executives, mainly with the executives, for 4 weeks, for 1 month. What about the other 11 months? What about the other 90% of the employees? Do you think executives have the ability to bleed down something that crucial, that clear, that important down to all the employees? In some sense, just because of how the world looks and how business looks, they've actually used it in a not so constructive way. It becomes more of a manipulation. They think they can kind of shift words. They've now got conscious leadership in them. Their employees are really going to really follow them more. They're going to be able to get away. No, the bullshit meter of employees, because of the clarity on this planet shifting. The executive can say, hey, we really appreciate what you do for us. The employee's like, I know what you said. I know exactly how you feel, though. That's why the gap is widening between executives and employees.
Yeah.
That's why here's, we get 10,000 books on happiness. Never been so unhappy. We've never spent more money on obesity. We've never been more overweight. We've never spent more time with coaches and consultants on burnout and retention rate, and never have they been worse. So what am I missing? What am I missing? That's all I'm asking. We have the wellness programs. We've got 20 years of wellness programs. Here in the West, we've got a lot of Catholics, a lot of Baptists, a lot of atheists, a lot of Christian religions. When the wellness programs come in and said, we're going to do yoga or we're going to ask you to meditate, they immediately went to Buddhism and they were turned off. Why do you think wellness programs are not highly participated in? No, but it's just one of those things. The company went through the motions. They can say they have a wellness program, then they can go back to profits, which is perfectly fine, but there's not a lot of participation. There's a few here and there, but 20 years of it, all this implementation, all this conscious leadership, all this conscious management, all these wellness programs. My question is always this: how does it look? How do businesses look? How does burnout? How's the retention rate? How does the world look? It's more divided and conflicted than ever because we have been doing this since the beginning of humanity, and we always use the same tools that created the thing that's fallen apart. We've got to shift it up. That's where this position comes in. They see the whole picture. They don't have a side. They're not for you. They're not against you. They're neutral, which is a key word here for this position. Imagine how priceless neutrality is in a business in a very polarized world.
What's the response you're getting from execs out there, especially in the larger companies?
Well, we've done close to 60 of these podcasts in the last 5 to 6 weeks. We've had hundreds of people cross our path saying, this is great. This is exactly the position. We got dozens of them training with us to become CCOs.
Cool.
The larger companies are doing what larger companies do. They're on the outside saying, this is incredible. We love what you're doing. Can we have a call? Can a Zoom? What is this position? What is it not? How would we implement it? What's the ROI? All of that. So they're kind of sitting back, right? But they know about it because it's spreading like wildfire. People are asking questions. People are training for it. This is the next logical position. With the shift of this planet happening so quickly, and there's not a person on this planet that doesn't feel that. This is not going to take years. It's not going to take months.
Yeah.
Within 6 weeks, we're having all of these discussions. Hundreds of people, thousands of people, hundreds of thousands are seeing it on the podcast. Larger companies are asking questions. Medium-sized companies are already working with me. Smaller-sized companies are hiring me. Let's see what happens in a month. Okay, cool. But the point is, this is a full-time position like the C2O because it needs to be there 365 days a year, working with customer service, with mid-level managers, with the CEO, with the executives, everybody.
Yeah. It's like a linchpin. Right.
Correct.
Yeah.
And it has no authority over any division, but it becomes a secret weapon for everyone once they understand what it does.
Yeah. I love it. I love it. I think it's needed. So let's shift a little bit here. How would a CCO, a chief conscientious officer, how do you think that would impact political and maybe even more than the political venue is the media behind it that kind of fuels everything, I think.
Same way. Everything's consciousness. So we've been on quite a few political podcasts. Everyone talks about being bipartisan, bridging the aisle, jumping over the aisle. Does it look like anyone's doing that? It's all talk.
Yeah.
Do you know anyone? Yeah. Do you know anyone? My question always is, do you know anyone that's neutral?
Me.
Yeah.
I'm serious. Me.
Oh, beautiful. There you
go. That's why I'm being serious with this because, we've raised our kids. You ask questions, you listen, you read, and you make trying to make an educated, informed decision. What's best for this country. So you don't vote. You don't vote by the Republican or Democrat. You vote the person, right? What can they do? The unfortunate thing is, I will share this. The past few elections, I know we go to the vote and I say to my husband, I still am not 100% sure who I want to vote for. So here's the bigger question, right? With what you're saying, if this can be implemented, can we bring better candidates forward who are really going to make this country a better place again, right? Forget about what your political views are. We have to do something different because this is insanity what's happening. It's disgusting.
So here's the thing. We always think we're bringing better candidates. There's someone right now that in 4 years or 8 years, everyone's like, this is the next guy. He's neutral. He's doing this. He's jumping the aisle, everything else. As soon as it gets to voting time, everything changes because they need to go to their party, the two-party system, right? Everything. Even when Connie says she's neutral, but yet she still votes. No, I'm literally talking. You're not for someone or against anyone.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking voting for independent either.
Yeah.
I'm saying We have done this since the beginning of humanity. We have to change. We have to step out of it. So when I hear you and I hear everyone, I know your heart's in the right place. I know you're correct. I know you want to leave this world better for your kids.
Sure.
We have to step out of this. It's not about better candidates. It's not about what we've done before. It's not about one side winning, because since the beginning, we've always chosen a side. And we truly believe that at some point in the future, one side's going to wake up, the other side's going to be okay with it, and everyone's going to go off into a utopic future. That's never going to happen. It's never happened since the beginning of time. So here, Einstein, definition of insanity, same thing over and over again, expecting different results. So when I hear people say we need something new, we need change, this is the most drastic change humanity can go through, because we don't understand what it's like not to be a side. So what I'm talking about is really starting to seep in. I'm talking about true neutrality. You're not for anyone. You're not against anyone. You're not voting for either side, because all you're doing is just propagating and continuously pushing sides. Now, what do people say? Well, if if you're not voting, then you have nothing to say. Huh. I don't know about you, but do you remember George Carlin talking about voting back in the 80s with his committee? He's like, I had nothing to do with either of those sides. You voted him in. What are you talking about? How's that my problem? There's quite a few people who have talked about this in the past, but they haven't packaged it correctly to not really get people to understand. When you start talking about neutrality, that's when people very simply can say, what do you mean by neutrality? Let me ask you a question. Okay, what about the mind? This or that? Well, Republicans and Democrats, they exist. Catholics and atheists, they exist. Everything exists in consciousness. Everything's fine. What we can do is subtly bring the awareness up. So when there's more expanded awareness, the only thing we can hope for is less division and conflict and less chaos. And that's exactly what this position will do. That's what consciousness does. And that's what bringing awareness to what neutrality really is. And that can help in business. And to your question, politics, imagine having a CCO on staff on either side. That position can truly bridge the gap and really bring people together. That would be their main objective.
Yeah, listen, hey, I'm on board, right? I totally get it. What do you think the chance of corporate? I think you're going to get the people that buy in that are I'm going to use the word enlightened. I don't know, it's not really not the right word, but people who are aware that, wait a minute, we can't do what we've been doing and crapping on employees to get ahead, right? And the inverted triangle that the shareholders should be at the bottom, not because they bring value, right? They're investing in us, but if our employees are happy, our customers are happy, we're making more profitability, our shareholders are going to be even happier, right? So that's the concept. So some people buy into that, but you see it, I see it. Some of these bigger corporations, they want the quick fix. They just want the quick hit. So they get rid of the human capital for profitability. So here's and then same thing on the political side, right? It's chaos everywhere, in my opinion. How long do you think, and realistically, how long do you think it would take for the tables to shift? And do you think it's going to happen in our lifetime? You're younger than me, but
God. Oh my, yes. This is not the construct. Let's go off on a tangent here.
Yeah, go for it.
Do you remember the movie Arrival with Amy Adams?
I don't think so.
The spaceships came and they're landed in 12 certain spots in the world, and they find out they're trying to communicate with them. Amy Adams is a linguistic professional. She's asking them where they're from, and they're from some star that's a million light years away. So her logical next step is, are you an artificial intelligence? Because nothing biological could last. All they said to her was, as soon as you let go of the construct of time and space, you can be anywhere. Okay. We're the only things in the universe that tell time in linear fashion. That's a construct, right? That box, that construct is starting to dissolve. And by simple example is, to your listeners, is time speeding up? Incredibly so. We just lose days, we lose minutes, we lose hours. It's just speeding up. How much is happening in a day used to take a year. What's happening in a month used to take 10 years. The chaos and the change happening just this year, all of that's happened. But that's just your example right there. That's how things are speeding up. So this is not if you don't understand history, you're bound to repeat it. That's gone. We are truly in a whole new era of humanity and this planet and consciousness. We've never been here before. To see how many podcasts we've done, to see how many people cross our path, to see who's talking to me, remote viewers, Nobel laureates, everyone coming out of the woodwork, the hundreds of people who have been doing work like this, but now have a position to put to it. So when people say, what do you do? Well, I'm the jack of all trades. And they're like, I don't understand what that means. To give them, well, I'm a chief conscience officer. Oh, this is not about a lifetime. This is happening this year. People are going to, I've already had 3 companies hire me within the last couple of weeks. This being a full-time position like a CTO, next 6 months tops. Because as soon as it happens, the other companies are going to see it. Because to your point in your first part of your question, with time speeding up, people are going to find out very quickly that what's going on now, the chaos, they cannot fix it like they fixed it in the past. And I don't care if they don't understand what I'm talking about. They're going to try this.
Yeah.
And then they're going to see firsthand from direct experience. They're going to take a chance. And then they're going to see what happens. And they're going to say, holy shit, how did we ever live without this before?
Yeah.
How did we
we're
ever
ready
do
for
it
it.
without this?
Yep. Yeah. Well, we're ready for it now, right? The world is ready for it. We're all waking up
Yes.
from, my kid
Yes.
said we've been
Yes.
sleeping in the matrix, right?
Truly.
So it's exactly what you're saying. The other thing too, time moves so fast. I have a example of that where it blew my mind. There was, we had an earthquake up here. No, it was up here. And, where the way it traveled, well, the people down south, right? It started in North Jersey by the people. So the people down south were like, what are you talking about? And then like a second later, oh, we just felt it. They were waiting for the earthquake, where before we didn't, because on Instagram, Twitter, all these things, everybody was blowing up. That's why everything moves so fast, because there's so much information being thrown at us. So how do we pause that volume of information and do exactly what you're saying, right? We have to ask questions. We have to kind of pause, right?
So in regards to that, we can't pause. What we can do though, and this is where I love these conversations. I love your questions, because then we start to get back answers we've never heard. We can't pause. We've tried the 20 years of pausing, breathing, breath work, meditation. Does it look like it's working? It's not working out too well, right?
Yeah.
It's
Mental health
incredibly
is at an
powerful.
all-time high.
That's another thing. Mental health crisis. That's because everything we've suppressed for the last 20, 30 years with clarity, it starts coming up.
Yeah.
There's nothing wrong. There's absolutely nothing wrong. When the 11-year-old has growing pains, we don't take him to the doctor and get his knees replaced. We just let him turn 12 when they go away. That's that's the mental health crisis. That's a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
So we can't pause. What we can do is this box, we can give it a release valve by expanding the box, expanding awareness, understanding consciousness, understanding this vast resource. It doesn't need to be funneled into this tiny little Republican or Democratic mind, or Catholic or atheist mind, or this is right, this is wrong. Expanding the awareness loosens things up. That's all this is you're expanding awareness. You give yourself time, space, a release valve. You could call it a pause, because those 80,000 thoughts are now in a much larger space. So it doesn't feel like it's as chaotic. That's all we're doing when we talk about consciousness. It's kind of like the 4-minute mile. It was impossible until someone ran it. So this information cannot be heard, unseen, or unknown. So whether they understand what consciousness is, the seed's planted. The universe waters. It's a great gardener, and it just starts to expand. That's all we need to do. That's all we can do. Because what we have done in the past is, I'm an atheist. I'm going to get more people to believe there's no God. I'm a Republican, and I'm going to get more people on my side. Every side thinks they're making the world better when they think the other side's ruining it, and vice versa. We've got to try something new. This is new. This is neutral. This is different. This is it.
I'm so curious. And when you came across my desk, whoever promoted you to me, I was like, oh, this is an interesting one. I haven't heard of, a chief consciousness officer, and I understand the concept behind it. And I also agree. I think it's needed in our world today, because being a crappy human is just not okay anymore. And to blame it on, oh, I have mental health issues, I had this trauma as a child, right? All these things. And I'm not minimizing any of that. We've all had these experiences. Enough is enough. We have to show up and start just being human, being nice, being kind. I mean, all these things. And I like I'm visual. I'm a visual learner, Charlie, but I like the idea of the box and then doing the release valve. So we're not saying it's this or that, pick one or the other. You're saying, well, let's explore it. Release valve, make room, contemplate. What can you do? What can we do? What do you believe? Let's have a conversation about it. That release valve, I like that idea, because it opens space for us to have these conversations, to understand what is possible, right?
Absolutely. And to that point, more information for them to understand how we got to this box.
Yeah.
Our teachers, our parents, our friends, we all learn. Like in Utah, you're most likely Mormon. In Texas, you're most likely Baptist. In Japan, you're most likely Buddhist, right? We're conditioned by where we grew up and who we grew up around.
Yeah.
NASA did a study. They followed 2,000 kids. At the ages of 4 and 5, they were about 98% were considered genius. By the time those kids were adults, it was less than 2%.
Oh,
If you don't think that doesn't impact all 8 billion people, because we're born into this vast resource of consciousness, and then everyone starts telling us this is right, that's wrong, don't do this, don't do that. We're a Republican family, we're Catholic, don't do this, that's wrong. You created the box. Everyone creates the box thinking that knowledge is power. Yes, it is. But that knowledge, the way we've built it, the society we've built, we
yeah.
don't have a release valve. We boxed ourselves in. I'm
Yeah.
right. You're wrong. No, no,
Yeah.
no, 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 no. You're the one ruining the world. We're the ones saving it. No,
Yeah.
you can't possibly think what I think. The question is, what's better, heads or tails of the coin?
Neither.
It's the same.
It's the same.
No shit, right? So that's what we say. That's the conversations we start having in business. That's the conversations we start working with the people who want to train with us. Just that subtle awareness. Heads is not better than tails. Exactly. So your Republican is no better than the Democrat. You're both screwing things up. The Catholic and the atheist, you both have no clue. You're both going at each other's throats,
Yeah.
but you want to leave the world better. You want less division and less conflict, but you're both creating the same division and conflict you don't want the world to be when your kids grow up. You're a part of the issue. We have to bring awareness to the sides. We have to bring awareness to the division and conflict, and we have to bring the understanding of levels of consciousness.
My
Okay.
question is, Gandhi popped into my head as you were describing that, right?
Mm-hmm.
He didn't take sides. He believed in humanity, all of these things, right? In prison, but how could he make the world a better place? Would you consider him a good, again, a visual? I'm a visual person.
Mm-hmm.
Do you
Mm-hmm.
think that he would have been considered your concept when he, did his thing? Would he have been a CCO or a good example of what a CCO could look like? Do you get my question?
He was an amazing human. I would look at him, and I've read everything about him and Gandhi and Ramana and Nasak, with everything I've done with my teacher. I would consider him more of a spiritual leader.
Okay.
And this position is not about spirituality,
Okay.
right?
Yeah.
This position needs to understand business, have a business background, understand nonprofit, have time on the spiritual path, but be the bridge.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because there's a significant amount of people who leave religion, who leave business, who do this, and they just go to the tail side of the coin. Spirituality's better, nonprofit's better, money's for the birds. You're just creating the same amount of division. You think there's
Yeah.
a lot of dogma and structure in religion, and you think spirituality's free, but you just go create the same amount of dogma and structure on that side.
Yeah.
Gandhi and those type of individuals leading tens of millions of people, that's a spiritual leader that does more than we could ever fathom when it comes to consciousness. This is where we've been missing it because we're going into where 90% of the world is: work, business, corporate, small, medium, large. We've tried to, sprinkle it in with wellness. We try to sprinkle it in with conscious leadership, conscious management, but we have to work with every level, every employee of the company when it comes to consciousness at their level so they can understand they have access to it. That's who they are.
Yeah.
And then you subtly shift them from elementary to junior high, seventh grade to ninth grade. Those subtle shifts are where it's big because it's kind of like a Trojan horse. It's not on the outside of business where there's a big movement. We're going to go on walks and we're kind of, in a sense, trying to take business down because business is evil. No,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's not business. The structure of capitalism and business and companies is incredible because of what it can do. It's the people involved in it. If we just make them more aware when they know better, they do better. That's all we've got to. We've done everything else. We got a lot of spiritual teachers. We got a lot of people talking about meditation. It's all one, it's all love. How's it working? How's it working? The
Yeah.
vast majority of the people don't understand that. They don't care about it. All they're caring about is their mortgage and if they still have a job. So let's go there.
Yeah.
Let's go there and start talking to them about that release valve, about consciousness, about what they are, and meet them where they're at and just
Yeah.
subtly shift them.
Yeah. And I think that's important because if we meet people, and I meet people where they are, and then we can help them elevate, right, by helping them understand how to execute, right, whatever, to get to that next level. But I also agree it's got to start at the top but work all the way through, because the
Yes.
CEO can't disseminate. You can't start at the lower level, because they're not the decision makers
No.
yet, right? So you
No.
have all of these gaps going on. How
Yep.
does Charlie, how would a company find a chief consciousness officer? Like, how do you hire something like that?
Well, in the show notes, they'll have my LinkedIn. So talk
Yes.
to me and I will tell them directly what this position is and what it's not. A lot of medium to larger size companies will probably have someone on staff they think they could work with that is kind of neutral. Maybe it's a little bit different that they could send to us and we could work with them. What this company is, or what this position is thankfully to people like you, a lot of companies and a lot of executives are watching this. So they're starting to understand what this position is, what it's not, how they would hire, how it's different from the chief people officer, how it's different from HR, how it's not a threat to any executive, how it
Yeah.
expands and becomes a superpower, right? So basically, my job right now is to do as many of these as humanly possible, get as many people trained as possible, and just get it out into the world, into the awareness of chief consciousness officer, letting them know it's not spiritual, it's tactical, letting them know it's about business, letting them know we can meet it at any level, letting them know it's a position that becomes a superpower. That's all we're doing. We're packaging it correctly with the right message, with the right narrative in the right time. That's all that's happening. It's just being funneled through me in the right time.
Yeah.
So
I
let's
love
take
it.
advantage of it.
Yeah, absolutely. So everybody, if you've been inspired by this conversation, or you think, maybe this is the missing piece that I've been looking for within my organization, whether an executive at your own business, doesn't matter, small, medium, and large, email Charlie. It's charliepif@gmail.com. The website, it's LinkedIn. I'm going to put all of this in the show notes. And your recommendation is to follow you or join you on LinkedIn, right, Charlie? So
Yeah,
that we
that's
can,
where the
yeah.
conversation's going. And the email is EY, CHARLEYPIF
PIF, right?
Mm-hmm.
Charlie PIF@gmail.com.
Yeah.
Yes, I
Just
have
spelled
that
a little
right.
bit different. Perfect.
Yeah, Charlie, CHARLEY. Yes.
Yep,
Yeah,
exactly.
PIF@gmail. Okay, beautiful. And I will put those in the show notes so you guys can find Charlie easy peasy. Charlie, thank you so much for being on. And wow, this is a new topic and a new way to think. And I'm so honored that you were on my show, and I'm one of many that you're spotlighting. This is a resource, really, of it's more than a resource. It's really a shift in consciousness. I know I'm going to use that. I'm going to
Mm-hmm,
overuse
mm-hmm,
that word, but it
mm-hmm.
really is a shift in consciousness that the world is ready for. And the last thing I want to say is your example with time speeding up. I think that that's why this message is going to amplify quickly,
Yes,
because once you hear it, you can't unhear. You can do nothing with it, right? But once you
exactly.
hear it, you can't unhear it, or say, I don't know what you're talking about. So it's going to be interesting
Exactly.
to see how your mission explodes, my friends. Cool stuff.
Yeah.
Thank you for
And
being on. Go ahead.
and really quickly, and to the people who are thinking about hiring this, but also becoming a position like this, the people that we're already working with, they're 2, 3 weeks in now having something to say, this is what I am. They're already getting hired.
I love it.
So
Proof
this
is
is
in
and
the
this is the
pudding.
chief
Yeah.
consciousness officer. This is a C-suite position. So for those individuals, you're looking 6 figures minimum. This is going to be
Yeah.
a C-suite position.
Yeah, love it. Love it. Love it. Love it. So cool. I love learning new concepts, new ideas, new thought leaders that, emerging. Time and place, man. It's all about the time and
Yes, it
place.
is. Yes, it is.
Yeah, yeah. Charlie, thank you for being on. And I hope you will join me weekly as we question, build, and discover, no matter where you are on change in your life. I do hope my guests and I provide some insight, ideas, strategies, thought provoking, changing your thought patterns. All of these things matter to help you create the change you're looking for in your life. Thank you again, Charlie. Thank you
Thank you.
for tuning in to Enlightenment of Change with me, your host, Connie Whitman. I am inspired that you tune in every week, and truly, truly hope my guests and I, our ideas, this conversation, the release valve. I keep going back, Charlie, to the release valve. I hope your box of thinking, that release valve, that expansion, that's where magic can seep in and start to work. You just
Mm-hmm.
need a tangible tool to get you there. Charlie's your
Right.
guy. So call to
Yep.
action, join him on LinkedIn, join the conversation, and see, you might be the next CCO at your organization. Charlie, thank you again. Thank you all for
Thank
tuning
you.
in. I love you. I'll see you next week. Have a good one.